Hey everyone, it's Jacqueline. I want to discuss something that not many transgender people talk about, and it is all going into the mind. And so I'm going to give like a quick little analogy. I like to think about it this way. So, in our world, whether you are a TERF, trans radical exclusionary feminist who goes out of their way to disprove that trans women are really women, and or if you are a trans individual, the mind is the most important part to all of this because both of these sides, both trans people and the opposing sides, focus on the physical. So for some reason, we are obsessed with our bodies. We're obsessed with when we're born, they slap a label and they go with it that way. Whether it's DNA, whether whatever it is, they're trying to compartmentalize and put you in a box, and the rest is just fashion. But when it comes to your identity and who you are as a person, so when I first transitioned, or at least let's go way back, when I was about 8 years old, and I was told that I was a boy and not a girl by family members. I think it started about 5, 6 years old. They just didn't get why I would talk like a girl, why I would act like a girl, and they pretty much like laughed at it and said, you need to stop doing that because it doesn't make sense. And so I told myself, I was like, well, I guess I'm a boy. And so what I did was, instead of looking at my body and going, well, that's not right, and that's not right, I don't like that, I never really did that. It was more this, I never really saw myself being what I was told that I was. I never actually saw that. And it was irrelevant what the body looked like. It didn't matter what it appeared like or what it was. I knew so much of who I am that it didn't really even matter. It's almost like transcending the actual transition in a sense. So I just knew I did. When I went through puberty, that's when it really started. I noticed I had hair in weird places. And when I started to notice that testosterone was coming in, I was like, why is this there? Why is this happening? And then I felt myself with like this really uncomfortable feeling of testosterone. I felt like my mind was plagued with this thing. And then I was just gross. I felt gross. I didn't feel like comfortable in my body. And so when I talk about the mind is also somewhat, influenced by the body. It's almost like, you're still alive in this world in a physical body. And so you are influenced by your body in some way or shape or form. But for me, I never really, saw it that way. So when I went through puberty, I was like, I didn't like it. Around 16, 17, I ran into my first trans people, and they weren't medically transitioning. And so I didn't really see it then. I never really saw what I needed to do at that time. And so I just thought we just keep living our life. That was it. I didn't think about transition. I didn't think about anything, but I just knew I did not like looking at myself in ways, and I was constantly trying to change it, but I didn't know what it was. I didn't know how to label it. And at that time, it was man and woman, and that's it. There's no non-binary. There's nothing like that. And then there's also your job and your life and your family and all of those people around you that influence you and your opinions and your views. And so your mind is sitting here in this body. I like to imagine it floating around in this body, and it's just like, well, shit, here we are. I guess we're just stuck there, and that's it. But the mind itself is completely separate from your physical body. People say, oh, it's the brain. It's not the brain. If I pulled my brain out and put it on the table, would I say, that's Jacqueline? And it's not me, like if I cut out an organ and put it on the table and said like a fingernail, that's Jacqueline. And when you break it down on a microscopic level, it's all just cells. There really is no differentiating between like my genitalia cells and the cells, elsewhere. It's all just cells. So who am I? When you really think about it as a physical body, who am I? And it is your mind. So I am Buddhist. My mom's Tibetan Buddhist. And over the years, I've heard lots of, things that she has to say about reincarnation and karma and many thousands of lifetimes that we've had. And I always found it quite interesting and very understandable. So most people believe, especially in Western culture, you have this one life. This is the one life you have, you better live it, and that's it. And I simply don't believe that. I think as the years have gone on, I absolutely believe in reincarnation. I also believe that we are influenced by previous lives, not consciously, but subconsciously. You don't know. And so when I was born into this body that I'm currently in, it was just kind of like I must have had an attachment to another body or something else. But I happen to be in this body. There's many ways of looking. There's a lot of people that do things that are really odd, where they just don't feel comfortable in this body. So they do things to make themselves feel comfortable. And in the end, That's really all there is to it. That's what transitioning really is. It's looking at your body and feeling comfortable in that body and saying, you know what, this works. So for me, when I transitioned, everybody was against it. My mother was against it. Everyone around me, they said it was dangerous, that I was going to get beaten up and killed, and that, it was all this horror that was surrounding it. The hormones are dangerous. They went into all of this, which is currently the rhetoric that is being spread around currently right now by TERFs and people like that. I've gotten into long discussions with multiple TERFs in the past few weeks, and one of them is stuck on this thing, cosmetic hormone levels, they say. There's no such thing as cosmetic hormone levels, and it's insinuating that I'm a man that cosmetically wants to look like a woman, and that's just not true. Like, everyone has a body, and everyone has hormones, and everybody has physical traits from those hormones, and that's about it. That's about the differentiating between the two. And so I simply take the same level hormones as a cisgendered woman has in their body. That's what an endocrinologist does. They match it. They talk about, oh, it's dangerous, the cancer, it's like they threw out some quotes of like 14,000% or something ridiculous. And it's a 1 in 1,000 chance that you can get cancer on hormone therapy. That includes women. That also includes people that are born. Like, I have a client of mine that he just never really produced testosterone. He takes the testosterone that trans men take. And he takes it because he has to, because it makes him feel mentally stable and aligned with his body. He's almost experiencing a transgender experience. It just so happens that our society has issues accepting us. And my question is, why? And as many of you know, I was kind of confused by the non-binary community a couple of years ago. And then, big surprise, we are what we, dislike or what we focus on. A big surprise, I think I'm leaning very much into non-binary, and it's been coming for a while now, about 2 years, instead of just female. I don't know if I ever would tell people they and them pronouns or anything like that. I don't think I really give a shit anymore. I don't even care if people saw me as a he, because all of that is outside of my mind. It is a societal thing. It's a physical thing. It's outside of who I am. So, as an example, when you have a guest coming over and say they're driving a 2012 Lincoln Navigator, I don't even know if that car fucking exists. It just sounds like it does. So say they pull up in your front yard and you go, oh, the 2012 Lincoln Navigator's here. Does anyone do that? Does anyone do that? Yet that is exactly what just arrived in your driveway. No one does that because it's insane, unless it's like it's the new car that's like, I don't know, or it's like being delivered. I guess that would be the only case where someone would say that. What we say is like, Daniel got here, or Sue just arrived. That's what they say. And the reason why is because it's the person inside the car that matters. And that is the way I describe my transition. It's the person inside here. Now, I'm very lucky. I look at my body, and we're just going to say it. I do not mind my genitalia. I actually kind of like my genitalia. As I'm starting to age, I've actually quite enjoyed my genitalia. And I think as I go on with my transition, I'm like, it's actually really nice to be comfortable with my body. I think I learned a big lesson when I went in for that breast augmentation consult about a month ago. And the way those women treated me in there, and the way they saw me, and they were confused. They didn't even know I was trans, and then they were confused as to what was going on. And then when they realized I had breast tissue, they didn't know what to do. And it's like, all of that was going on. When I sat there looking at them, I was like, you know what? And I was naked around them. Like, I had to take my shirt off, and I showed them my boobs and everything. And I looked at myself, and they're all cis women, and they were just like amazed at this guinea pig on the table in front of them. And I realized I love myself. I don't need breast implants to be set. I just realized a lot. There was a lot going on there, and I was like, because transgender people do the same thing as, say, like TERFs or other people. They are obsessed with their body. They also believe that somehow, if they get all of this intense surgery done and all of these things, that society is going to accept them as a woman because you've done so much to be accepted as a woman. They're never going to accept you as a woman. And it's the hard facts. Like, some people will see you that way and they go, yes, that's a woman. And that's it. They may not think of you as a man, but they don't think necessarily that you're the same as a cisgendered woman. And that's just never going to be. It's never going to happen. So our obsession with our physical body is actually very similar to the obsession of the opposing people on our physical body. Do you have a dick? That makes you a man. Do you have a vagina? That makes you a woman. But in the end, like I said, this is just a vessel. It is just a car. I'm going to get out of it one day. Eventually, there will be absolutely no way to even prove that Jacqueline existed. There's no way to prove that I ever existed. It'll be dust. Not even dust. It'll be non-existent one day. There's no way you can hold on to that. It doesn't matter if I'm buried in the ground. It doesn't matter if I'm burned. It doesn't matter what they do with my body. Even if they put me in a metal capsule and I was somewhere, eventually I will disintegrate into nothing. That's just the law of time. And so our obsession on who people are and what they want to do with their bodies, and also what we want to do with our bodies to make those people accept us, is insane. It's like crazy, because our validation cannot come from outside of our body, or outside of our mind, sorry. So it cannot come from outside of your own mind. So it doesn't matter if you medically transition or not. Whatever you see yourself as is pretty much, or whatever makes you happy and joyful, and you live your life and you do your thing within reason. Like, I don't think that someone who is like a big old, burly man with a giant beard and everything should just be allowed to go in the women's bathroom. I think there's a conscious thing that happens there. Although those boundaries are starting to break down and people start to realize that, there's gender neutral bathrooms all over the place that you can use, and it really does not matter. But in reality, we still live in a world where people are obsessed with compartmentalizing and throwing us into labels and stuff. I mean, most people that are these TERFs that hate trans people are trans. They're dealing with gender dysphoria, and the only way they can process it without losing their friends and their family and their jobs and everything in their life if they transition, the only other way to deal with it is to hate it. And that's what they do. They vilify, they build it up, they create propaganda, they take things out of context. And you know what it's just disingenuous in general. But at the same time, it's the way they're living. It's the way they cope with being trans. So it's quite wild at how you can look at people, and once your mind is strong enough, you could really just look at them and see them for exactly what they are. It's actually right in front of you. It's just that we tell people, you need to respect me. You need to do this. You. I don't need anyone to do that. Someone could walk up and shoot me, and I would not give a shit. I would not care. I do not, I worry about my dog and my mother, and that's pretty much it, But for the most part, I don't believe that, like, Jacqueline is going to be sitting somewhere for all eternity. Like, it's impossible. So who are we? Like, who is our mind? And that is, whatever makes you happy and joyful in your life is what you should do, whether it is getting the surgery or not getting the surgery. For me, I'm starting to go into a whole new path of Jacqueline. I will say it's a very, very interesting, and it's really quite exciting. It's weird. As living as a trans woman for 15 years, it's really nice to discover new things about yourself. If you want to look at it in very simple terms, maybe it's just a really intense midlife crisis. Woohoo! But I think, if you want me to be honest, okay, so I went out a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if I'm going to go into this in this video. I went out a couple of weeks ago, not this past weekend, but the weekend before. And when I went out, there was multiple things that happened that were it was almost like a short story. Like, it was incredible all on its own. I went to a gay bar, a very masculine daddy gay bar, and no one really sees me. I've changed my schedule, so people haven't seen me out. Ran into a couple of my friends. One person is a cross-dresser that he likes to dress up like a really drunk Joan Rivers, and it's incredible. I love this individuality. It actually makes me happy. He's sitting there smoking a cigarette with this long cigarette holder with this, like, houndstooth jacket on and this just fucked up wig, and they're just like, just drunk. And I love it. It makes me happy to see people living however the fuck they want to live. And I'm like, wow. And then I was with my friend that was with me, and she's just seems to be doing well, and she's living her life authentically. And I'm like, good for you. And then there was this moment I had. So there used to be this drag queen. She's actually trans now, but so many years ago, 20 years ago on MySpace, I used to be ferocious. This is when I was in my early 20s. And she was, at that time, she hadn't transitioned, and I used to do drag. And she gave me all the compliments. She used to love me. Well, she did this picture on MySpace and told everybody this is her Halloween costume. And it was a Victoria's Secret angel. And I remember seeing it, and at that time, I was like, that's not her. And so I posted underneath. I was like, girl, that's not your body. And she wrote back, don't be a hater. There's other pretty bitches out there, and all that stuff, And she's saying all this stuff. And I'm looking at it, and I was like, that's not your body. So on MySpace, you couldn't find pictures very easily back then. And I ended up finding a picture, and it was the exact same one. And it actually was a Victoria's Secret model's picture that she had photoshopped and blurred out and did all sorts of shit. Anyway, I outed her. Ever since, that was 20 years ago. Ever since then, she's loathed my ass. So in that time, she actually transitioned. But she also did drag and everything. On her social media, someone sent me a bunch of pictures. They said, hey, look how good she's looking. And it was all these pictures. And it was like, one was like, oh, I had a long workout today. And it's like her laying down looking in the camera. And I was like, this is like 3 years ago. I was like, this isn't her body. So I went and found the original pictures, and they're all models' pictures. And I put them side by side, and I posted it on her timeline on Facebook. And I said, hey, girl, after 20 years, are you still doing this shit? And she blocked me immediately. I mean, it was like 30 minutes later. Some people had saw the images, and they're like, oh, my God. So she blocked me. And as vicious as that is, it was one of those things where, and in a way, almost, she even stole pictures of my ex-boyfriend's stomach. He used to be this guy that lived in the area. He's very handsome. He had like six-pack, and he had this giant eagle tattoo on his stomach. And they grew up in the same town, so they knew each other. And she posted a picture of his stomach on with a tattoo and said, who wants to see the rest? And he was literally laying in bed next to me when she posted it. She's like, this is the new guy I'm dating. So this girl just has issues. She's very, very unsecure with herself. So anyway, I ran into her at the club like 2 weeks ago, and she's standing there. I haven't seen her in years. And she's wearing 6-inch stiletto heels, a sequin dress, and she's got, the whole, this elaborate wig and all this stuff. And she's standing there, and she sees me. And the moment I see her, all I had was a flash of all these fake pictures that she was posting. And I started smiling, and I just looked down at the ground. I kept walking, and she started to make fun of me. Like, her and her friends all got together and started pointing at me and mocking me. I mean, I don't dress feminine. I have pretty big muscles, and I kind of like having my big muscles. I work out a lot. I'm proud of it. I like breaking into those gender norms, breaking through them. And so they were mocking me and making fun of me. And I turned around, I looked at my friends, and it was like this moment where it was a little quiet. And I just went, she photoshops her face onto models' bodies, and everyone got quiet. And I was like, do I need to repeat myself? Like, I was like, oh my God. So anyway, she took everyone and left. She took her crew, and they were out of there. They lasted 5 minutes in that bar. And as much as I was like, wow, I still got the sass, I feel guilty. I feel bad because she's one of my kind. I live in a state where they're coming after us right now. And yeah, so anyway, and so I feel bad. I almost feel like I need to apologize to her, but I think she'll probably go insane on me if I did. But in the process of all of that, there was this guy that walked in that had a patent leather Adidas tracksuit on, shiny pleather, a tracksuit with a puppy mask on. And this guy had this dog mask on, and I'm looking at it, and automatically, I mean, it takes a lot to just go out, not know anyone, put on a patent leather tracksuit. He's 6'3", very lean, and a puppy mask. And I was like, this dude can't be that hot under there. I was like, there's no way he's sexy under this mask. I mean, with this confidence, there's no way he's hot. And so, which is a terrible thing for me to think. And so I see him, and he takes his mask off, and this guy is beautiful. Lord of the Rings elf-looking fool, and I'm like, holy shit. So I was like, as soon as he took his mask off, I looked at him, and I was like, I'm talking to him. And I got up, and I just went straight over to this guy. And I'm in this gay bar, so I'm not expecting much. But I went over to him, and I was like, hey, I want to apologize because I thought you were just not going to be that hot. But when you took off that fucking mask, I was like, boy, you are fine. And he busted out laughing, and we had talked. He loved my hair. Anyway, we talked, and it was like this very this moment, and I'm looking at him, and I was like, I wonder what freak flags I have that I haven't flown because I'm trans. Because I tried so hard to make the people at my jobs comfortable, to make my family comfortable, to make all the friends that I don't even fucking have anymore because they're pieces of shit comfortable. Like, what are all the things, what did I do to subdue myself and hide who I am because I wanted to make the world comfortable? And in the last 2 years, I've been cracking out of that shell, but I think it's really fucking happening now. Because even y'all, like, I've been here and I have friends and everyone knows me as Jacqueline the trans woman, blah, 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 blah. All the people where I work, where I live, everybody knows that I'm Jacqueline the trans woman. And now I'm throwing a wrench into that whole thing because I don't want to make people comfortable. I don't want to make anyone comfortable, if you want to be honest. I don't want to make these people who hate me anyway, I don't want to make them comfortable. I don't care what they think. I don't give a fuck. So it's like being authentic is there's variations, very different levels of being authentic. And then there's the trans people, you guys. I've done a lot as well to almost validate myself. I'm like, trying to be on here, giving everyone good advice, going through everything. And then I start to realize that maybe me trying to prove myself to everyone has become almost like who I am. Now, sure, I'm not saying it's like a detransition thing. What I'm saying is that I'm going to be on hormones forever because they ain't going to change, because I fucking love estrogen and I love progesterone, and I like living that way physically, chemically. But as far as fashion, and fashion includes all your clothing, all your underwear, all your hair, all your face, all the makeup, all that stuff, that is fashion. It's not who you are. It has nothing to do with who you are. It is a completely separate thing. But in the trans community, it's like, it blurs and it gets weird. And then also the TERF community, they're all like, it's blurred and it's weird. And so I think there's a side to myself that I've been suppressing for a long time. And we'll just say that I've opened up a whole new can of worms. I can't really discuss it on here. It's a bit intense. But it's like maybe some kinks that I just ignored when I was younger because I wanted people to like me. I wanted straight men to like me. And let me put it this way. My existence is a straight man's kink. So when I would sleep with a straight man, it's over. They're so into it, it's over. And they never want to date you. They just, oh, it's a kinky thing. Oh, done. That's it. That's about the extent of these straight fucks. You know, it's terrible. It's boring. It's terrible. And I'm over it. So then I started thinking, I was like, what's the one group of people I don't mess with their heads? And I think it's the gay men. And I'm like, look, I'm pretty buff and I'm pretty cute. And I think I'm way more tough than most gay guys I know. And I'm like, interesting. So how can I manipulate this with gender? Because I would like even gay men to question themselves, because everything else is just fashion in the end. You know, it's just fashion. So when it comes to like my gender identity, gender is also very fluid, like fashion, expression. I will stay on hormones forever. But at this point in my life, I actually don't know. I think I'm leaning into a non-binary. I don't know. I have no idea, but it's fun and it's nice and it's exciting to almost like re-question yourself. And I think most people are very afraid of that because they need the validation of everyone around them. Anyway. So, and the only one that can validate you is your own mind. It's all about your mind. Nothing else matters. And when you have a strong mind, you can see straight through weak minds. I hope this video makes sense. I hope it makes sense to everyone. You can use your imaginations when you're thinking about the paths I'm taking in my life. It's exciting when people think all these things. But we'll just say that I am excited to stop giving a fuck what anyone thinks, including the people I thought I was friends with and the people I've been close with and the people my exes and all of that. I've gotten to the point where I'm like, you know what? Live your life to the limit. Whatever you want to do, it doesn't really fucking matter. And in the end, if you see yourself as a woman, that's pretty much what you are. There's no really... But also, understand that being a woman is also a temporary thing. It's not a permanent thing. Being a man is a temporary thing. It's not permanent. We're all going to die. We're all going to turn into dust. There won't be anything left of us in the end. So why hold on to all of these things? You know. Now, I take medication because it makes my mind like at ease. It is separate from the mind, but it's influenced. The same thing, but like there's influences because you're in this physical body, you're in this world. So you do what you have to do to make your mind at ease. And I did what I had to do, and now I'm starting to go down a little weird path. Anyway. I hope y'all enjoyed that. I'm going to try and get back to doing my live streaming soon. I've been a little just busy and started working longer at my hair salon gig. And so I'll keep you guys updated. This is a long video. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you guys watch it, subscribe, chat about it, get in the comments and argue with each other. I love when that happens. I like reading it and seeing people just be like, and meanwhile, they'd probably be best friends in real life. They just don't know it. Okay, y'all have a great day.